Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Now we move on to topic 4 on pricing. Okay, chapter 8 of your textbook. So at the end of this chapter, you should be able to compute a target cost when the market determines a product price. So we look into target costing, and then how to compute a target selling price using the cost plus pricing. And then we use time and material pricing to determine the cost of services provided. And we need to we look into how to determine a transfer price using these three methods: the negotiated, the cost-based, and the market-based approach. Okay, so let's look at the first one. So compute the target cost when the market determines the product price. So the price of a good or service is affected by many factors. And so as we know, what determines the price? So there are actually a lot of factors that will affect the price. So for example, the environment, the political reaction to prices, the patent or copyright protection that can affect the price. What about the pricing objectives? You want to gain a market share. You want to achieve a target rate of return. So that can also affect the price. And then what about the demand? There could be a price sensitivity, the demographics. If there is a huge supply, or that what happens if there is a huge supply, more supply than demand, then could be the price will go down. What if there is a huge demand for that particular product, and then the price will go up? And what about the cost considerations, fixed and variable costs, the short run or the long run? So actually there are a lot of factors that can affect the price. So regardless of the factors involved, the price must cover the cost of the good or service as well as earn a reasonable profit. So basically from the company's point of view, whenever you want to set a price, so the basic thing is that the price must cover first your cost, and then the price must cover the reasonable amount of profit that you desire, right? Pricing goods for external sales. So the price of a good or service is affected by many factors. So the company must have a good understanding of the market forces. So what determines the price outside the organizations? That means the market forces. And then where products are not easily differentiated from competitor goods, prices are not set by the company, but rather by the law of supply and demand. So such companies are called price takers. That means you just take whatever price that has been determined by the market forces. That means by the supply and demand. Where products are unique or clearly distinguishable from competitor goods, prices are set by the company. That means when your product is unique, when your product is distinguishable from others, your products are not homogeneous, they are not similar to the outside products. So you have a uniqueness in terms of your product, whether in terms of the feature, whether in terms of the brand, or whatever reason, then the price will be set by the company. So for the to determine the price of a product, so basically the idea is based on the total revenue less your total cost. That will give you a profit if you have a positive figure. If you have a negative figure, then that will give you a loss. So the general idea is that the selling price or the total revenue, how do you calculate the total revenue? That is your selling price per unit times with the quantity that you sold, quantity sold. So that will be selling price per unit. The question is, how much is the selling price? We want to determine how much is the selling price now, so that we have a total revenue, and that total revenue should cover your cost, so that can contribute to a profit. Okay, so the question about pricing now is about how to determine the selling price that the company intend to set. Right? So you want to determine how much is the selling price here, so that selling price will give you as a reasonable amount of profit, and of course it must cover your cost. So for example, if you set per unit, let's say your selling price is 10 and let's say your cost is 8, so that can contribute to a profit of 2, right? Now let's look at target costing. What is target costing? So loss of supply and demand significantly affect the product price. Okay, we know that. How do you set the price or how the price is being determined? So normally it is based on the law of demand and supply that you have learned in your economics. And then to earn a profit, companies must focus on controlling costs. Of course, if you want to have a reasonable amount of profit and a high amount of profit, you must focus on your costs. If you cannot control your cost and your price is not competitive enough, then there is a tendency that you're going to suffer losses. So require setting a target cost where that will provide the company's desired profit. So basically, target costing is a technique whereby you try to determine how much is the price. You want to be competitive. Okay, so you look at how to determine or how to set your price. When you want to set your price, there are various approaches. Okay, one of it is using the target costing. Target costing is a technique that you can use to determine how to set your selling price. Okay, based on the target costing, cost that provides the desired profit when the market determines the product's price. So how are you going to determine your target cost? So it is based on the market price less your desired profit, then you will get your target cost. So if a company can produce its product for the target cost or less, it will meet its profit goal. So for target costing, first, the company should identify its market niche where it wants to compete. So you identify the niche area that you want to compete, and then you conduct a market research. When you conduct a market research, you want to know how much others have set the price. So the price the company believes will place it in the optimal position for the target consumer. And then you determine the target cost by setting a desired profit. Last, you assembles a team to develop a product to meet the company's goal. Okay, before we look at the example, let me first explain to you what is meant by target costing in a pictorial example. Okay, if you look here, do you determine the price? Okay, we have two approaches. I look into the traditional compared to the one that we are doing now, that is target costing. First, I will explain to you about the traditional method on how we set the price. Okay, as being mentioned earlier, revenue minus your cost equals to your profit. Here we see revenue less your cost, that will give you your profit. So now, if you are using the traditional method, okay, if you are using the traditional method, when you want to determine the cost will be you incur your cost first. If you are using the traditional method, first you incur your cost. Once you determine how much is your cost, let's say you say my cost is 8. And then the second step is you determine how much is the profit. Okay, I want a profit of whatever percentage. For example, you want to have a profit margin of 20%. Okay, so you will have 2 ringgit here. I just take small figure. So let's say your cost is 8 and then you add a profit of 2. The third step is you determine how much is the selling price. And then let's say your selling price is 10. So 8 plus 2, you've got 10. So 10, the third step is you determine how much is the selling price. So that is the traditional methods of determining the price. We want to set the price now. So, and then when you want to sell the product, you say that, hey, look, everybody is selling at 8. And then my product is 10. So you are not being competitive. So if you are not competitive enough, what happens to your product? Nobody wants to buy your product. You will be out of the market. You won't be able to get profit and so on. So a new approach to this is that you are using the target costing approach. This is a new method on how to set the price. So instead of just concentrating on your cost first, now you look at the market. You look at you look at the market. You do a market research, and then you find out that, hey, everybody is selling at 8. I cannot. But my cost is 8. So if I sell at 8, then I'm not making any profit. So the first step that you do with the target costing is that you do a market research. You do a market research in the niche area that you want to sell your product. And then you set the selling price by looking at the based on the market research that you have conducted. You find out that the selling price is 8, for example. So first, based on target costing, you set the selling price. Okay, if let's say you say the selling price should be 8, then you will then Hold on. So the second one is that you determine how much profit that you want. So if you are saying that I cannot sell at 10, I need to sell at 8 because everybody is selling at 8, for example. So you set your selling price as 8, and then the second one, the second step is that you determine how much is your desired profit. Then you say you want to have 2 ringgit of profit. So that means 8 minus 2 will give you 6. So you determine your target cost. The third one is you determine the target cost. The third step is you determine how much is the cost that you want. So your target cost now will be 6. So if currently you are producing, your cost is 8, so you need to find ways on how you can reduce your cost so that you will be more competitive, and you find ways maybe based on the various methods so that you can reduce your cost from 8 to 6. So that is the approach for target costing. It's just the reverse of your traditional approach. If the traditional approach, you start with your cost, add the profit, and then you get the selling price. But based on the target costing approach, you set the selling price first, then minus the desired profit, then only you determine your target cost. So target costing is the reverse approach to traditional costing so that you will be more competitive, you will gain competitive advantage. So hopefully you have a better understanding on what target costing is all about. So with that, thank you.